Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sydney, and if you are new here, this is just a place where we can talk about true crime, spooky, scary stories, dark history, or anything else I got going on in my brain. So after last week's long video, I thought that it would just be fun to talk about some urban legends this week, and so I'm going to be covering 3 very special Japanese urban legends. And before we get into it, I do just want to note that this week's video will be containing talk of suicide, self-harm, things like that, as well as abuse and assault. So if you are sensitive to any of those topics, please feel free to skip today's video and I will see you next week. But otherwise, let's get into today's urban legends. There are 2 things I want to talk about first before we get into it. The first one is that because these are Japanese urban legends and because I do not speak Japanese, I'm going to be trying my hardest on these pronunciations, but please forgive me if I have a little bit of a wonky pronunciation of certain things. I tried my best to research how to say them, but I'm bad at pronouncing English words, so we'll see how this goes. The second thing is that with a lot of different urban legends, not just Japanese, across the board, there are many different variations of tales being retold over time. So what I tried to do is find a single line through each of these stories, kind of where everything intersects, to try to get the most coherent story. But I will be talking about different variations here and there. And if I missed one of your favorite different little version of the story, please feel free to let me know below. Okay, let's get into it. Our first legend starts with a young girl, and in the most detailed variation of the story that I could find, it was the late 1940s, and this woman was taken advantage of by an American military soldier. This woman was incredibly distraught after what had happened that day, so during the night, she flung herself off of a bridge and onto the train tracks below, where an oncoming train then hit her. She was cut completely in half by the train, but because of the cold winter night, her blood vessels actually contracted, and so she didn't bleed out, and she was forced to drag herself from the train tracks to try to find some help. She eventually did find a train station attendant, but this person, instead of calling 911, just covered the top half of her body with a tarp and left her to die, which she did later that night. And with this version, I couldn't find if the train attendant thought that she was dead or didn't care, but either way, that's an incredibly cruel and horrible way to die. An alternate version of the story goes that there was a young woman that was bullied relentlessly, and so she flung herself in front of the train as it was coming to end her suffering. And in another version still, she was just waiting for a train and she ended up tripping and falling in front of the train. Anyway, all of these legends do state that this young girl is now a vengeful spirit called an onryo, and she is dragging along her body on either her elbows or her hands. She's usually carrying a scythe, and she's seen lurking around train stations late at night. You can tell that this spirit is near by the Teke Teke sound that her body makes as she drags it along the ground. Although the Teke Teke doesn't have legs, she can move extremely fast and catch up to you almost in the blink of an eye. She can then cut your body in half, and then you'll be forced to roam the earth just as she does. There's one version of this story where a young boy is at a train station late at night coming home from school, and he sees a beautiful young girl leaning in a windowsill. And he approaches her to, raise her up. Suddenly the girl jumped through the window and the boy discovered that she had no legs, and she did what she does to all of her victims and cut him in half. Some say that once you learn about the Teke Teke story, you only have 1 month to live. In other versions, it says that she'll come to you in a dream or give you a mysterious phone call, and she'll ask you if you need your legs. You must answer with the phrase, "I need them now." And then she'll ask you who told you her story, and you have to say, "Kashima Riko." And that is the tale of the Teke Teke. Our next legend, the Ake Manto, seems to have origins dating back to about the 1930s, when children would tell this tale on the playgrounds, and then it would just spread all over the school. So this spirit is of a man, and he appears in public restrooms, most times female restrooms, wearing a flowing red cloak, and there's a mask covering his face. In one variation of the story, it was said that the Ake Manto was actually a very handsome young man at one point, and all of the girls loved him and would chase after him. So he would have a mask to hide his identity, and it seems that one day he actually went into a woman's bathroom to try to hide from all of his admirers, and he somehow died there, and now his spirit is forced to dwell in women's bathrooms. So Ake Manto's MO is that he will appear, usually in the farthest stall back in women's restrooms, and ask the person in the bathroom if they want red paper or blue paper. Or sometimes in some versions it's a red cloak or a blue cloak. If you answer red, you will be either stabbed or flayed to death. And in some versions, it said that he does this so that your clothes are stained red and you are technically wearing a red cape. And then if you answer blue, the spirit will either strangle you to death or drain all the blood from your body. So either option you pick is not going to be a great end for you. If you happen to answer any other color, like for example, yellow, if you say I want yellow paper, the Ake Manto will put your head in the toilet. At first when I read that, I was like, this guy just likes giving swirlies. Is that the thing? But it appears that you do get like drowned to death in the toilet water. But first I was like, so the Ake Manto is really just like a school bully, giving everybody swirlies. And if you answer any colors other than red, blue, or yellow, the Ake Manto will be like,
you picked the wrong color, bitch.
And he will just drag you down to hell, basically. But there are a few ways that Japanese school children can avoid the wrath of this spirit. The first way is just to not answer him at all. Just ignore him and go about your business. And I imagine him being like, nobody believes in me. And just like flying away with his little cape. I don't know why. I imagine him as like a little cutie, but I do, okay. And another way is simply to do what I feel like most people would do and just run away. Sometimes it doesn't work because the Ake Manto can block your exit, but if you're fast enough, maybe you can escape the Ake Manto. So I think out of the 3 urban legends that we've looked at today, this one is definitely my favorite, just because it has some historical elements and it's a play that was first performed in Tokyo in 1825. So like I've probably said so many times, there are lots of different versions of the play, which I'm going to be talking about first. There are lots of different versions and it's been kind of modified over time. So I'm going to try to give you the most basic summary of the play. The plot follows the tale of Owia and a samurai whose name is Lemon. And this couple has a very rocky marriage, and it's mostly because of Lemon. He was just kind of neglectful with their money and careless and just all the things that you don't really want in a significant other. One night after a particularly bad fight, Oya's father, Yotsuya Salmon, actually told Lemon, why don't you guys separate? You guys aren't happy. It's not working out. It might not be the best image-wise, but like maybe it's just the best for you guys. This whole situation sends Lemon into an extreme rage and he ends up brutally murdering Oya's father. And then he goes back home to his wife and is like, hey, I saw somebody kill your father. I don't know who it was. It was a stranger, but like, I'm so sorry. Like, Oya, what are we gonna do? So they end up staying together and the marriage is not great, but they end up having a son together. Times are really tough. They don't have that much money. They're living in poverty and Oya's going through this extreme grief of her father. Lemon is growing more and more resentful of his wife, and so at this time he meets a younger woman and her name is Ome. Ome really likes Lemon and she wants to marry this guy, but the only thing standing in her way is the wife, Owia, and she's like, I have to figure out a way to get rid of the wife. So she ends up sending this facial cream to Owia. She gets this cream and she starts to use it and it is poisonous and it starts to disfigure her face. The left side of her face starts drooping. Her eye is kind of like bulging out and she brushes her hair and clumps of hair are falling out and She's like, what's happening? She doesn't really know. She can't see her face, but she knows something weird is going on. Lemon then comes and sees his wife, who is now disfigured, and he's like, oh my God, not only is my wife a horrible woman, but now she's ugly. So he starts scheming a plan in his mind to get a divorce. But the thing is that he needs it to be an honorable divorce. He then goes to his friend Takuitsu and asks him if he could pretty please assault Owia so that Lemon could get an honorable divorce. And Takuitsu, he's like, yeah, for sure. I'm a great friend. I'm going to go over and basically R-word your wife. So he goes over there ready to rumble, ready to like help out his friend. And once he sees Owia, he's like, ooh, buddy, I don't know if I can do it. And in some versions, it's said because of her appearance, she was just so ugly that he couldn't do it. In other versions, it says that he kind of gets there and he's like, oh my God, I'm going to literally assault a woman. I don't want to do this. So Owia notices that Takuitsu is in her room and she's like, what's going on, buddy? And he gives her a mirror and she realizes that her face is disfigured. And this is where the story kind of diverges. I've seen two different main ways that Owia reacts. In the first version, Owia becomes hysterical and she picks up a nearby sword and charges at Takuitsu, but somehow ends up stabbing her throat instead and bleeds out that way. In the other version of the story, she takes the sword and cuts her own throat on purpose. But either way, with her dying breath, she curses Lemon because she knows that he played a role in this horrible disfigurement. So now with Owia out of the way, Ume and Lemon quickly get engaged and they're super excited to get married, but Owia is not done with Lemon and she actually returns as an onryo. And this is typically a woman's spirit who has unfinished business on Earth. Somebody has wronged her and now she is back. And something that I found really interesting that I haven't thought of before, and it's a prime example in this story, is that sometimes these women aren't powerful on Earth, and so when they come back they are filled with that power, and that's kind of an incredible transformation when you think about it, that once they're powerless in life, they become extremely powerful in the afterlife. So Owia, now as this very powerful and vengeful spirit, constantly shows herself to Lemon with her disfigured face, with her missing hair. She shows up everywhere. Sometimes in his bed at night, sometimes in his room. Other times she can be seen in the lanterns that line the streets. She is surrounding Lemon, not letting him forget what he did to her. Lemon is going crazy seeing his dead wife everywhere, and so in this kind of madness, he kills his fiancée Ome and then travels up into the mountainside to try to escape Oya's wrath. But even there, she finds him and he's driven into complete madness. So that's kind of the basic plot of the play, but Owia was a real person who died in 1636, and she has her shrine, which is located in Yotsuya. And I think the most interesting part of this whole story is that there's a curse that if you want to perform this play or make a movie out of her story, write a book, you actually have to go to Oya's shrine and ask for her permission to use her story. There are numerous stories of disastrous consequences that have come from people not asking for her permission before retelling her story. And it is so prevalent that even to this day, many times actors and crew members will actually visit Oya's shrine and ask for her permission. And just as a little fact to send you on your way, the movie The Ring, actually the onryo from that tale, is based on Oya's story, so the more you know. Anyway, that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed this quick little video about some spooky, scary Japanese urban legends. If you enjoyed, feel free to like and subscribe. And leave me a little comment if there's something you want me to talk about next week or anytime, let me know. But either way, I hope that you guys are having a good day, and I'll be talking to you soon. Keep being the bad bitches that you are. Bye, guys.